The 2025 Formula One season was supposed to be Lando Norris' long-awaited coronation, a campaign shaped by seasons of grit, unwavering loyalty, and emotional investment in a team he helped resurrect from the shadows. After years of being the promising underdog, Melbourne seemed to mark the moment where prophecy met performance. His victory wasn't just a win, it felt like destiny unfolding. But just a handful of races later, the narrative has swerved off course, heading straight into murkier, more personal territory. Lando is no longer just the protagonist of a feel-good redemption arc. Now, he finds himself caught in a far more complicated story, one where he plays both the hunter and the hunted. And the twist? The adversary isn't an external threat. It's Oscar Piastri, his teammate, his protégé. Once seen as the quiet apprentice learning under Lando's wing, Oscar has now grabbed the spotlight with clinical ruthlessness and unrelenting pace. The unsettling part isn't just the growing gap in the standings or the post-race frustration that boiled over in Miami. What's more alarming is the whispering behind closed doors, the invisible fracture lines forming within the McLaren garage. A private exchange between the two drivers recently leaked, sparking a frenzy of speculation. Tensions, long buried under papaya-colored PR smiles, might finally be surfacing. Words that were never meant to escape that room have triggered suspicions of a team spirit under strain. What exactly unfolded between Norris and Piastri? And what did Lando say that's causing such seismic tremors inside McLaren? If you're obsessed with peeling back the layers and exposing the raw truths hidden behind Formula One's polished facade, this is the video you cannot skip. Subscribe now and dive deep with us as we uncover the real story behind McLaren's title dilemma. Because this isn't just another case of two fast teammates pushing each other to the limit. What's happening might signal a power shift inside one of F1's most iconic teams. And that shift, if it continues, could reshape the entire trajectory of the 2025 championship. At the heart of this unraveling saga is Lando Norris, a driver who has given his heart and soul to McLaren since 2019. Through the darkness of uncompetitive seasons, through disappointment and heartbreak, he stayed. He believed. And now, just when it seemed that belief was about to be rewarded, he finds himself in the eye of a storm. This isn't just a fight for the title. It's a battle for identity, legacy, and leadership within McLaren. And it's only just getting started. The ghosts of Monza 2021. The rain-soaked chaos of Suzuka. The long list of almosts that haunted Lando Norris. All of them were meant to be washed away in 2025, a season not just of hope, but of redemption. This was meant to be his year. After seasons of loyalty, heartbreak, and relentless belief in McLaren's project, Norris entered the campaign not just as their star driver, but as the man many expected would finally take the fight to Max Verstappen and win. And for a moment, it looked like that prophecy might come true. The victory in Melbourne wasn't just a win, it was a shot fired across the grid. A message to everyone. Lando had arrived, and this time, he wasn't here to play the supporting act. But fast forward a few weeks, and the narrative has unraveled. What seemed like the start of a championship march now feels more like the beginning of a crisis. 3 podiums in 4 races sounds impressive, until you realize his teammate, Oscar Piastri, has walked away with 3 wins. What began as a 23-point advantage for Norris has turned into a 16-point deficit. So what the hell happened? On the surface, Norris has been calm, composed, even philosophical. He's played down the shift in momentum, brushing aside concerns and insisting there's no panic. "I don't believe in momentum," he said coolly in Miami. "He's doing a great job. He deserves it." But for anyone who's followed this sport long enough, those words sound less like confidence and more like a man trying to convince himself that he's still in control. And then came the leak. A conversation, unintended for public ears, reportedly caught via open mic or overheard within the McLaren paddock, hinted at deeper frustrations. While the exact wording hasn't been confirmed, multiple sources suggest Norris expressed a sense of being left behind, not necessarily by Piastri directly, but by the way the narrative was shifting within the team. The same narrative he spent years building. The same team he helped drag back to the front. Now, it risks being hijacked by the kid in the other garage bay. And really, can anyone blame him? Because Oscar Piastri has been nothing short of phenomenal. The young Aussie has shed the rookie label faster than anyone expected. Last year, he was fast but erratic. This year, he's fast and lethal. He's winning races, outperforming Lando on Saturdays, and managing his tires like a seasoned veteran on Sundays. The composure he showed while battling Verstappen in Jeddah and again in Miami? That wasn't luck. That was championship material. Even Max himself has tipped his hat to Piastri's racecraft. And coming from Verstappen, that's not praise, that's an accolade carved in stone. Piastri's meteoric rise has sent ripples through the F1 world. And one question is now on everyone's lips. Has the balance of power already shifted within McLaren? Ask Damon Hill, and he'll tell you plainly, yes, it has. The 1996 world champion didn't sugarcoat his thoughts. For Hill, this isn't about seniority or tenure. It's about raw performance. The team belongs to whoever delivers, he said. It doesn't matter who joined first. McLaren wants a winner, and if Oscar is that winner, so be it. Those words hit like a punch to the gut for fans who've seen McLaren as Lando's house. For years, he was the face of the team. Zak Brown backed him relentlessly. Sponsors adored his charisma. The fans? Devoted. But Formula One is a sport where nostalgia doesn't fill trophy cabinets. Results do. Sentiment doesn't win you world titles. And right now, results are painting a cruel picture. Norris hasn't just been outpaced. He's been out-executed. Costly errors in qualifying sessions in Bahrain and Saudi Arabia left him on the back foot before lights out. Then came Miami, a race that distilled all of Lando's mounting frustration into one messy, painful afternoon. Turn 2. Lap 1. Norris gets pushed wide by Verstappen's aggressive oversteer and loses places. Later, during his recovery, he manages to pass Max, but does so outside track limits. Time lost. Momentum broken. End result? P2. Another, almost. Another reminder of how cruelly close he is, yet still not quite there. Meanwhile, Piastri keeps his head down, avoids trouble, and walks away with another win. After the race, Lando didn't hold back. With Max, it's either crash or don't pass, he said. His tone was half joking, half exhausted. He added that he wasn't racing smart, but you didn't need to read between the lines. Norris feels boxed in. On track, he's fighting Verstappen. Off it, he's staring down a rising storm named Piastri. That's the real tension here. Outwardly, McLaren insists all is well. The team's united, they say. Everything's fine. But beneath the papaya-colored paint, something's shifting. You can sense it. Norris is no longer the golden child. He's the veteran feeling the pressure. And Oscar? He's not waiting for permission to take the throne. In this high-speed, high-stakes game, loyalty is a luxury. Only results matter. And as the 2025 season heats up, the battle within McLaren might just become more captivating than the war with Red Bull. Because this isn't just a title fight anymore. It's a quiet civil war in papaya. But anyone who's been around Formula One long enough knows this truth. When two drivers are separated by less than a tenth in qualifying and both are fighting for the same crown, cooperation doesn't last. It vanishes. Fast. Team spirit begins to erode. Friendship fades into rivalry. And what remains is raw, unapologetic competition. That leaked conversation, whatever its exact wording may have been, didn't spark the fire. It simply confirmed what was already simmering just beneath the surface. This title fight isn't about chasing Verstappen anymore. That narrative has shifted. The real war is internal. Norris versus Piastri. And if McLaren isn't extremely careful, they're sitting on a ticking time bomb. Here's why this matters. Unlike the classic intra-team battles, Hamilton versus Rosberg at Mercedes or Vettel versus Webber at Red Bull, McLaren doesn't have a clear-cut number one. There's no seniority clause. No contractual pecking order. Both drivers have nearly identical deals, similar status, and similar expectations. That makes managing them a tightrope walk. McLaren has to support both, stay impartial, and somehow avoid a full-blown civil war inside the garage. But neutrality only works under two conditions. Either both drivers are performing equally well, or one of them is so clearly dominant that the choice makes itself. Right now, Piastri's form is demanding attention. He's not just fast, he's consistent, efficient, and climbing the leaderboard like a man possessed. His performances are commanding resources, belief, and momentum. And the longer he maintains this edge, the more likely it is that Norris begins to feel like the outsider within a team he helped bring back to life. That's where things get dangerous. Because a driver running on frustration is a volatile ingredient. It starts with subtle digs in interviews, maybe a sarcastic radio message here or there. But then it spills onto the track. And once that happens, you're no longer just managing race pace. You're managing egos, identity, and emotional fallout. We've seen it before. Prost versus Senna. Alonso versus Hamilton. Vettel versus Webber. When the rivalry becomes personal, the team becomes the battleground. McLaren knows this. Zak Brown and Andrea Stella have been around long enough to recognize the warning signs. They understand that internal peace is a fragile illusion in Formula One. So the real question becomes, when do they intervene? Let's say Piastri keeps outpacing Norris over the next few races, heading into the final stretch of the European summer. Do you start leaning toward him in strategic calls? Do you quietly begin backing him in the title push? Or do you try to stay neutral for as long as possible, risking the implosion of both campaigns? And there's another layer complicating all of this. 2026. Massive regulation changes are coming. A brand new era is on the horizon, and McLaren is already preparing for it. Stability is everything. They need two drivers who are focused, aligned, and committed to a shared vision. But here's the twist. Both Norris and Piastri are locked in with long-term contracts. Neither is leaving any time soon. That gives McLaren leverage, but it also means any toxicity that brews between them could linger for years. If this rivalry turns sour, the internal politics could gum up progress well into the next rule cycle. So what's next? In the short term, the pressure is squarely on Lando. He has to respond, not with sound bites, but with results. The pace is there. The data proves it. On raw speed, he's matching Piastri sector by sector. He just isn't putting the whole package together on Sundays. If he can win again, maybe in Monaco, maybe at his spiritual home in Silverstone, that could flip the script. It could reassert his leadership, revive his momentum, and remind everyone who built this version of McLaren. But if he falters again, and Piastri pulls the gap beyond 25 or even 30 points, the narrative changes. Piastri becomes the championship contender. Norris becomes the sidekick, the support act. And once that label sticks, it's hellishly hard to shake. So, the million-dollar question. Will McLaren be forced to anoint a number one driver before the summer break? Or will Lando fight back and reclaim his spot at the top of the food chain? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And remember, when it comes to Formula One, your fiercest rival isn't the guy in the other car. It's the one sharing your garage.